You are standing at the entrance of a cave. It is dark inside. It is warm. It is hidden from predators. There is fresh water nearby. The walls block the wind. The rock holds heat through the night. It is, by almost every survival metric, a perfect home. And your ancestors walked away from it, not because they were forced to, not because the caves ran out. There are thousands of caves across Europe, Asia, and Africa that were occupied for tens of thousands of years and then suddenly weren't. So the question that nobody really asks is this: why would any sane human being leave the safest shelter on earth? The answer is not what you learned in school. And once you hear it, you will never think about ambition, status, or even your own career choices the same way again. Here is what the textbooks say. Humans developed agriculture around 10,000 BCE. They started farming. Farming meant staying in one place. Staying in one place meant building permanent structures. And so the cave became obsolete, clean, logical, wrong, or rather incomplete in a way that changes everything, because agriculture did not cause humans to leave caves. Something else did, something that happened tens of thousands of years earlier, something buried so deep in your biology that it is still running in you right now, today probably without you even noticing it. It started with a problem of light. Caves go dark fast, even near the entrance. Usable daylight lasts maybe 4 or 5 hours in the winter months. Early humans burned animal fat in shallow stone bowls, the world's first lamps, but fire inside a cave is dangerous. Smoke accumulates, carbon monoxide builds. Archaeologists have found cave paintings deep inside rock systems that would have required sustained, carefully managed lighting just to paint, and then presumably never seen again in full light until the 20th century. The cave was safe, but it was also a trap. And somewhere between 40,000 and 70,000 years ago, something shifted in the human brain. Researchers call it the cognitive revolution. Yuval Noah Harari popularized the term, but the underlying neuroscience was mapped by researchers like Brian Boyd and Merlin Donald years before that. Here is what actually changed. Humans developed the ability to imagine things that did not exist, not just to react to the world, but to picture a different version of it. A better shelter, a wider view, a place where the deer migrated, a location the tribe 3 valleys over had not found yet. This is the moment the cave became a problem, because the cave was real, it was known, it was safe. But the human brain had just evolved the capacity to be seduced by something more powerful than safety: possibility. And possibility, by definition, is always somewhere else. Here is where it gets strange. Anthropologist Kim Sterelny has argued that early human settlement patterns were not primarily driven by resource availability. They were driven by something he calls niche construction, the tendency of humans not just to find environments that suit them, but to modify environments to suit their evolving needs. In other words, humans did not leave the cave because the cave stopped working. They left because they had become the kind of creatures who could not stop asking whether something better was possible. The cave, for the first time in human history, felt like settling. Think about what that means. The most dangerous thing on earth, open ground, exposed to weather, predators, rival tribes, became preferable to the safest thing on earth because of an idea, because of the gap between what was and what could be. Sound familiar? Because that same gap between what is and what could be is the exact mechanism driving almost every significant decision in your life right now. The career you are restless in, the city you keep thinking about leaving, the version of your life that exists just slightly outside your current reach. Your ancestors did not walk out of the cave because life inside it was bad. They walked out because their brains had just become capable of imagining that life could be better. And that capacity, once switched on, has never switched off. But here is the twist that the evolutionary record shows us. And this is the part nobody talks about. The first humans who left the caves did not thrive immediately. The archaeological record from roughly 45,000 years ago shows something researchers call a bottleneck period. Exposed settlements failed. Groups that moved too fast were wiped out by weather, predators, and resource collapse. The ones who survived were not the most adventurous. They were not the boldest. They were the ones who left the cave slowly, who built semi permanent structures close to cave entrances, who kept one foot in safety while reaching the other foot into the unknown. The evolutionary psychologist David Geary calls this the threshold model of human risk tolerance. The humans who passed on their genes were not the reckless ones and not the timid ones. They were the ones who could hold two things in their minds simultaneously, the safety of the known and the pull of the possible, and take one careful step at a time. That threshold model is still inside you. You feel it every time you want to make a change but cannot fully commit. Every time you know the current situation is not ideal, but the alternative feels too exposed. Every time you are standing at the mouth of the cave looking out, that hesitation is not weakness. That is the exact psychological architecture that kept your lineage alive for 70,000 years. The humans who sprinted out of the cave with no plan did not make it. The humans who never left the cave did not grow. The ones who survived and whose descendants eventually built every city, every road, and every civilization on this planet were the ones who stood at the threshold long enough to see clearly and then moved. You are not stuck. You are not indecisive. You are running an ancient calculation, one that has been refined across hundreds of thousands of years of human survival, and it is running exactly as designed. The real reason ancient humans stopped living in caves was not agriculture, it was not climate, it was not technology. It was the moment they became capable of standing at the entrance, looking out at the open, dangerous, unknown world, and deciding the view was worth it. You are still standing at that same entrance. The question your ancestors asked, the question that launched every city and every civilization and every version of human progress, is the same question sitting in your chest right now. Is the view worth it? It always was.
The rabbit hole goes deeper than this. If you're the type of person who refuses to settle for surface level answers, hit subscribe. You're the only ones I'm making this for. What should we uncover next? Let me know below.